Mark Manuel.
Rock and roll!
On Real Classic Rock, Q106.5.
Hey, welcome back to the bonus block. Today, instead of listening to me ramble on, thought it would be fun to catch up with Louise Harrison here on the 50th anniversary of the Beatles arriving in America. Of course, Louise is the sister of George Harrison, and she's got some great stories. Check this out.
It was fantastic, because we just didn't believe it. So leaving England and it was a great send-off from England. We thought, well, they couldn't be as good as that.
We are talking with Louise Harrison, sister of the late George Harrison, on this just about 50th anniversary of the Beatles' arrival in America. Welcome to the Quad Cities, Louise.
Yes, thank you very much. It's funny you should call him the late George Harrison. He was actually late before he was born.
Really?
Yeah, he was 3 weeks later than he was supposed to be. When I met him, he was 8 hours old, and I was really thrilled to see he had, his hair was all really nice, and his eyelashes were fully grown, and his fingernails were fully grown. And I said, well, he waited until he was finished before he popped out.
Well, Louise, take us back to that event. You're on Pan Am Flight 101, Heathrow to JFK. What was it like on that flight?
Well, I wasn't on that flight. I was coming from the opposite direction from Illinois to New York.
Oh, no kidding.
Going up with them, yeah. See, I was already in this country back in March of '63. And unbeknownst to anybody until just recently, I was running around trying to get radio stations all over the country to play my Kid Brothers band records. And I was being told, they'll never make it, they're terrible.
Isn't that something? And you hear of that happening all the time with that and movie pitches. Oh, that's a dumb idea for a movie. A movie about some people out in space and the Death Star. That'll never fly.
Yeah, exactly. But who knows what the public's going to go for next.
So did you kind of warn George, look, you're going to have a huge reception when you get here?
No. He knew that. He knew that from what they were getting in Britain all the time. And, by the time they were actually ready to come here, they were already being warned that every helicopter in the city of New York had been commandeered by the press in order to meet them. So they were already aware that it was going to be, chaos. And in fact, when George was talking to me about me getting there, he said, originally we were going to meet at the airport, and he said, no, go straight to the hotel, he said, because we're never going to be able to connect up at the airport. And that was probably the understatement of the century.
Yeah, no kidding. Thousands of fans, hundreds of news media and photographers.
Yeah.
So then 2 days later, you were in the Ed Sullivan Theater, though, right, for that first performance?
Oh, yes. Yes, I was with them. I arrived there on Friday afternoon and was with them the rest of the time until in the middle of the week after the Carnegie Hall show that they did. When they were heading off to Miami, then I went back home to Illinois. Somebody asked me the other day, in fact, it was a limo driver taking me up to CNN. He said, what was your favorite part of that week? And I said, going home.
I'll bet. That had to have been so hectic that week. So
yes,
were you hanging out with your brother and the band backstage, or were you in the audience for the whole show?
No. I was backstage with them. George was still very, very sick with a strep throat.
Oh.
And even when they were performing, his temperature was still 102. It had been 104 when he came in from Paris that night on Friday. Well, the doctor was going to send him to the hospital, and Brian Epstein almost had a heart attack. He said, no, we can't let anybody know there's anything wrong with anybody.
Right.
So then they wrote me in to be Florence Nightingale.
Any other interesting things happened backstage before the show?
Well, one interesting little off-the-cuff kind of thing. When we were George and I were going either up or down this little iron spiral staircase back there, and there was somebody coming up the other way, and we stopped and said hello. And George, introduced him. He said to him, "You're one of those Beatles, aren't you?" And George said, "Yeah, I'm George Harrison." He said, "And this is my Anglo-American relation." Anyway, the guy introduced himself. He was Dizzy Gillespie. And
no kidding.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So now we flash forward 50 years. I assume you watched the Grammy Awards the other night?
Well, I was too disgusted with most of it, so I just had somebody else watch it. and called me when Paul and Ringo came on.
So what was going through your mind as you're watching Paul and Ringo up on the stage?
Well, they still got it.
Yeah, I tell you, they sounded great.
The thing that I find really disgusting these days is, I don't know if you watched it, but, it was all these young women displaying their private parts as best they could.
Right.
I don't know. I find that to be just very, very, it's not talent, and it's not music when they're doing that. I don't know. It's a shame, really, what's happening to our society, because, they're just degenerate. And, it's sort of sad for the young people to think that that's the way to go, because it really doesn't really command any respect. Anyway, that's not what we're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah, let's talk about the 50-year anniversary and something really cool that you're doing at Bettendorf High School this Thursday night with the Liverpool Legends.
Well, we're going to be doing a concert with the students from the music department. They're going to be joining in and playing with us in the second part of the show.
And this is kind of a neat thing, because I imagine, being as big as your brother and the rest of the Beatles were, I'm sure they're asked all the time, hey, can you do this public service message for us? Okay, can you talk about that? This was one that he felt very strongly about, right?
Yeah, and that was the only time in his life that he ever did a public service message. And when he did, let's help keep music alive. And, that was his feeling that we needed to, help those that are studying music to get along a bit, because, let's face it, music is the common language of the whole planet. It's something that all humans have in common. They can all recognize music that they enjoy, even if they don't have a common language. It's something that people can enjoy together. So it is rather important to keep it going. And, recently, the last few years, when they have been defunding departments of so many schools, we decided, well, as musicians, this is one problem that maybe we can't solve altogether, but maybe we can, add a little bit or help a little bit to, add a few dollars to the coffers here and there. So that's what we've been trying to do for the last few years. And it's so much fun, because the kids in the, or the students, I should say, in the music departments that join in with us, let's face it, towards the later years, the Beatles were adding all kinds of different instruments into their music.
Sure.
And so, the students are playing all kinds of different things, violins and trumpets and so on. They get to, join in with us and, show what they can do. And it's really so much fun. And the excitement, the pitch of excitement in the theater when we do these shows with the students is really incredible. It's at a much, much higher pitch than when we just do normal shows with the regular audience. So I totally enjoy it. And, of course, I've always enjoyed hanging out with kids my own age anyway, so it's fun for me.
So the Liverpool Legends is a group that you actually handpicked the 4 members. Did they know when they were auditioning that you were George Harrison's sister?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I just wonder if that wouldn't rattle their nerves a little bit. Who's judging us?
Well, yeah, it wasn't so much that we auditioned people as that we kind of knew where all the best ones were.
Oh, okay.
And sort of asked them if they'd like to, and, of course we wanted to make sure that they were okay. To me, the most important thing was I wanted guys that looked as much like the originals as possible and that sounded as much like them as possible. But the most important thing for me was I wanted the kind of guys whose characters were such that they, were good, decent individuals, kind and compassionate and caring and, just regular, decent guys. I didn't want any, big, the kind of people that think that they're wonderful. They go around, telling everybody how great they are and all that kind of thing. I didn't want anybody like that. So our guys, they're just, they're regular human beings, and the kind of guys that if George was still here, they'd be his friends. They're the kind of guys he would like to hang out with. Well,
again, the show, it's the Liverpool Legends come together for music education at Bettendorf High School. They've got a brand new performing arts center, which just opened up this year. It's just spectacular, and this is just really cool what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, we totally enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to getting up there and giving a lot of people a hug.
Sounds good. Louise Harrison, thanks for joining us today.
Okay, thanks for calling me.
Hey, what a neat lady, huh? And she had some great stories, too. Louise Harrison, our guest here on the bonus block.